ended up in the final product felt that there was something they could not vote for there, and they could not move forward.
Come on, we know why they didn't move forward. They moved forward because Donald Trump swooped in. He said, I don't want Joe Biden to get a win. They felt, many of them, that it was a flawed piece of legislation that had...
And that is just one part of the masterclass that Pete Buttigieg puts on Fox News. What's up, everyone? I'm Coach D with the MeidasTouch Network. Hey, if you like my content, please go over to my YouTube page at CoachD_speaks and subscribe. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers, and I really do appreciate you guys. So I used to do this series of videos called Tips for When You're Arguing with a Republican. And something that I would always tell people is that Republicans are 100% allergic to questions and facts. See, when you ask them questions, it forces them to look up the answers of those questions. And typically, while looking up the answers, they find that their entire narrative gets decimated. And then when you give them facts, just straight facts, that also forces them to look up those facts. And what they typically find out is that your facts are correct and theirs are all propaganda. So I really enjoyed watching Pete Buttigieg on Fox News give this masterclass on how you should always respond, answer, and argue with a Republican. I mean, he is just not the one to mess with. The dude comes armed with facts, logic, and just ready to counter anything that they say.
Donald was for it, the head of the CBP union was for it, and then Trump swooped in to kill it. Not because he thought it was bad policy, but because he didn't want that issue to get better, because if it got worse, it would be better for him politically.
And I'll ask Senator Johnson about that, because there were a number of provisions that Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, ended up in the final product, felt that there was something they could not vote for there, and they could not move forward.
Come on, we know why they didn't move forward. They moved forward because Donald Trump swooped in. He said, I don't want Joe Biden to get a win. They felt, many of them, that it was a flawed piece of legislation that had too many loopholes and other things they couldn't support. This is how Washington Post, what happened.
This is how they described the border situation. Illegal border crossings soared in the months after Biden took office and immediately rolled back many Trump-era restrictions. They go on to say the number of people taken into custody by the U.S. Border Patrol has reached the highest levels in the agency's 100-year history under Biden, averaging 2 million per year. And there's a lot of that attributed to the fact that there were dozens of things done under the Trump administration that this administration rolled back. And Vice President Harris is part of this administration and had a leading role, according to mainstream media, on handling the border.
Let's get real. Border crossings are down in the wake of President Biden's executive actions that he took after Congress failed to act.
So he could have taken action.
He wanted Congress to resolve that because that would have been more durable. But when Trump came in, talked Republicans out of their own bipartisan project because he didn't want the issue to get better. Remember, the worse things are at the border, the better things get for Donald Trump. So he has a vested interest in it remaining chaotic down there. I think this also helps to explain why he didn't exactly conclusively solve it when it was his turn. But I saw something else really important happening at the Republican National Convention on the border and the talk about immigration, which we all recognize is a problem, which is they tried to paint this narrative that if you live somewhere far from the border and immigration hasn't affected you personally, you need to think that immigration is a driver of crime. That was the real message. Immigration leads to crime.
Well, there are blue state governors and mayors who say every state is a border state now. That's Democrats.
Yeah, and now they're saying, but what the false message of the RNC was that this is leading to an increase in crime.
Well,
and I think it's really important that we talk about crime.
Have been very high profile about people. If they had not been in this country illegally,
this is my
people
point,
would still
right?
be alive.
Trying to make people think that crime is up when crime is down under Joe Biden and crime was up under Donald Trump. Now, I don't know how often that gets reported on this network. So if you're watching this at home, do yourself a favor and look up the data.
Well, we invite that.
Great. So if you look this up at home, you will know that crime went down under Biden and crime went up under Trump. And I think the violent crime for sure. So I think the really important thing to ask is, why would America want to go back to the higher crime that we experienced under Donald Trump?
You have to absolutely appreciate what he did there. Like, my favorite part of that entire thing was at the end when he said, I don't know how often these facts are presented to you on this station. So if you are listening to me right now, I want you to go and look up the facts. Crime was up under Donald Trump and it has been down under Joe Biden. It's just the facts. And if people were to actually look them up, they would find that it's absolutely true. But I also love the way that he pointed out what we all already knew, is that the border bill was killed on purpose by Donald Trump. she tries to say that, oh, there were things in there were loopholes that they just couldn't get behind. That is absolutely false. They had already decided this was the bill that they all liked. And then, like Pete Buttigieg said, Donald Trump swooped in and said, do not allow this to go through because that would be a win for Biden, and a win for Biden is a loss for him. So what he was basically saying is, I would rather the border continue to be a problem so that I can run on that. He would rather not have them sign a bipartisan border bill, not vote on a bipartisan border bill so that Joe Biden could sign that just so that he could try to win the election. And this is the reason for this is what we always say. Republicans don't actually care about policies. They don't care about legislation. They don't care about doing one goddamn thing for one single American. They care about power and money. And the best way for them to acquire both of those is to continue to lie to the American people. And that is what Donald Trump and Fox News and J.D. Vance and the rest of most of the Republican Party is doing on the daily. Period.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.